What's up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my Draftkings MMA picks for UFC Vegas 23. We have Marvin Vettori versus Kevin Holland, and which should be a very fun card, especially from a Draftkings perspective. 14 fights. That means less ties. Of course, we are in Vegas, so we may lose a fight or two. We've already actually lost one with the Kyle Dawkins fight, but hopefully the majority of these fights do stay on the card. I think there's a lot of great ones, and I think as a whole, this card is going to be very exciting, and really looking forward to get into it. Before we get started, I do have a couple special announcements to make. The first one was I did that contest, the DraftKings contest 2 weeks ago. Shout out to Cofactor. Got first place in the contest. I was able to contact him, get him his money show. So shout out to you, Cofactor. And I do have another big special announcement here, and that is going to be the Patreon. The Patreon added a ton of value to the Patreon just this past week. The big thing that I added was I teamed up with my guy Uncle Weezy, and he has this stat model that is something I've never seen before. And if you guys watch my prediction video, I kind of went through it here, but I'm going to be implementing this into the betting package on Patreon, and then also into the DFS package. So you not only get my stats on the front page you saw there a second ago, you get Uncle Weezy's stats here, which goes into detail. You get the record, the finishes, the wins, the finishes and the losses, striking defense, striking offense, grappling defense, strength of schedule. You get every single fight, and you get to see what happens every single fight. Some of these stats I've never even heard of. It's fantastic. Also, do want to point out, he has the DraftKings stats, he has the FanDuel stats, so pretty much every single stat you can think of. And if you think my DraftKings content sucks, which I don't think it does, but if you think it does, if you think my article sucks, if you think all that sucks, the stat model alone is more than worth the $10 a month that is the MMA premium, $2.50 a week. But with that, you get the targets, the projections, the lineup percentages, the rankings, and of course all the stats you see here. And then the biggest thing, and this is absolutely huge, this is a game changer, and I've been wanting to add this for over a year. I've been looking for an optimizer, finally was able to get one, and the thing is fantastic optimizer here, and I'm not changing the price for MMA Premium. It's going to be $10 a month still. You get, like you see there, access to MMA model, optimizer, advanced stat page, article, projections, Discord, line of percentages, targets, and rankings. Like, so much value. $10 a month, $2.50 per week, and the optimizer is the biggest game changer out there. Make as many lineups as you want. It does come with my projections and my projected ownership with it. You're more than capable of putting your own projections and ownership in it, and it's just a fantastic thing to add into there. So lots of great stuff there. Check it out. The link will be in the description. I've had a ton of people sign up already. Hopefully we keep that rolling, and yeah, not changing the price. Added a lot, made the product a ton more valuable, and really excited to start implementing that starting this week. So very excited about that. But for now, we'll get into the video. Before we get started, if you can leave a like, subscribe if you have not yet, would very, very appreciate that as always. But we will start with the fight doesn't go to decision lines. And on a 14-fight card, when we have these big cards with a ton of fights, it's kind of easy to see what fights you want to target, what fights you want to kind of stay away from. And kind of with the new scoring system, what you want to look for, finishes first of all. You always want to look for finishes, but you want to look for the wrestlers, grapplers. And we've been seeing, and we have a good sample size in the past couple of months, these wrestlers, grapplers that are going out there getting takedowns, control time, they are scoring a lot more than the fighters that are striking for 15 minutes going to decision. So first of all, I'm looking at the fight doesn't go to decision lines, and then I'm looking for those wrestler grapplers, and we'll talk about some of those throughout the video. So first we have Daniel versus De Castro, minus 325, fight doesn't go to decision. Honestly, I think there's a scenario where this could go to decision, but I'm more leaning towards this is going to finish. The thing with Daniel is we haven't seen him fight in almost 5 years. I think it's been 4 months or 4 years and 7 months since we've seen Daniel fight. And even when he was fighting back in the day, he wasn't that good to begin with. The striking is not the best. He's going to come out here, try to get De Castro down. Probably can't do it. His wrestling's not great. His cardio's not great. Neither is De Castro's, but Daniel's cardio is probably worse than De Castro's. Got to factor in the layoff. Got to factor in all that good stuff. So I do think you'll want a piece of this fight just because it's a heavyweight fight. It's a low-level heavyweight fight. I think there could be a finish. Could Daniel come out here, maybe take down De Castro, maybe grind him out, maybe get a finish, possibly, but I think De Castro probably knocks him out early. The problem with De Castro is we'll talk about in a little bit, but he is 9,400, but I do think the first round knockout's live. But like I said, I wouldn't be completely shocked if this was one of those sloppy heavyweight fights that did see the scorecards. Kevin Holland versus Marvin Vettori. Again, I wouldn't be shocked if this saw the scorecards as well. The big thing here is Marvin Vettori, 9,600. Kevin Holland 6,600. I will have both sides to this fight just based off the fact that, my goodness, like Vettori is 3,000 more than Kevin Holland, and I'll definitely have some Holland. I'm really high on Vettori in the spot, but seeing the 6,600 on Holland is just kind of crazy to me. But I do like Vettori to win. Vettori probably by decision, maybe a submission, but I'm going to have a decent amount of both here in this spot. Main event, I do think if it does get extended, it's going to score well. I think if it finishes, obviously it's going to score well. So I think the winner of this fight has a very good chance of finding the optimal lineup even on 14 fight card. Next, we have Da Un Jung versus William Knight, minus 195. Fight doesn't go to decision. I think if this finishes, it's going to be because of Da Un Jung. Da Un Jung, 92% finish rate. We have seen William Knight knocked out in his only loss. If Knight wins, it's probably going to be a decision, but it probably scores very well. This is a fight I absolutely want a ton of. You have Da Un Jung, 8,400. William Knight, 7,800. Honestly, one of my more favorite fights to target because I see the winner scoring very well, whether it is a Jung knockout or whether it is Knight grinding out a decision, getting control time, getting takedowns, which will definitely add up, especially at the $7,800 price tag he's at. And then we have Julian Marquez versus Sam Alvey, minus 145. Fight doesn't go to decision. Kind of iffy on this one, whether it's going to finish or not, just because of how tough these guys are. Marquez, very, very tough guy. But the thing with Marquez is he has a 100% finish rate. Alvey has been knocked out a few times, but very tough himself. So I don't know. I would be a little bit more inclined to going heavier on this fight if Marquez or Alvey were a little bit higher volume. Both these guys are extremely low volume. Marquez, 3.5 significant strikes land per minute. Sam Alvey, 3.17. So the only fear for me is if this does get extended or go to decision, not much grappling. Takedowns goes on. Marquez averages 0 takedowns. Alvey averages 0.08 takedowns. So I do think this plays out on the feet. And if it is low volume, if it does get extended, it probably busts. So I'd be a little bit careful with it. But I think if Marquez does come out here with a killer mentality, and a lot of his fights are very exciting, he's going to probably bring the fight to Alvey, pressure Alvey. I do think it's possible somebody gets knocked out. And for that reason, I will have a little bit of both sides here, especially with Sam Alvey, 7,200, but Marquez, 9,000. It's not the worst look in the world. All right, getting into the core plays here. Talked about him a little bit. Marvin Vettori, 9,600. If he wins, it's going to either be by submission, which will score very, very well, or it's going to be by decision, kind of implement the same plan that Derek Brunson did. And I know Vettori's probably not a better wrestler than Derek Brunson, but he's definitely a better grappler. And I think if he does get Kevin Holland down, we've seen Kevin Holland submitted, I think, 2 times in his career, just recently, a couple fights ago against Brendan Allen. And Vettori's grappling is legit. So I do think if he does get Holland down, he is live for that sub, or at least just grinding him out. I mean, Kevin Holland has a 51% takedown defense, and outside of Kevin Holland knocking him out, which is it possible, I guess, but Vettori has a very, very good chin on him, so I think Vettori's going to win here. I like him to win a ton, but yeah, 9,600, if it was like a 10-fight slate or like an 11-fight slate, wouldn't play, go crazy on Vettori at 9,600, I'd still play him. But since we have 14 fights, since I do think there's quite a bit, of live dogs, quite a bit pump plays that can win, I will have a decent amount of Vettori because I do think if he does win, I do think he finds that optimal lineup and scores very, very well. Next, we have Jack Shore, 8,700. Yeah, I like Shore here a decent amount, especially from the Draftkings side. Like I said earlier in the video, we're going to be looking for takedowns. We're going to be looking for grapplers, and Jack Shore is just that, going against Hunter Azure. The thing about Hunter Azure is has a very good takedown defense, but a very good takedown defense early. As the fight goes on, he gets taken down easier and easier, and I do think Shore is going to have the massive cardio advantage, and I think that's where he's going to take over, start to get those takedowns, and probably find a late submission. So I like Shore a lot. The only problem with Shore is he's going to be extremely popular, and, rightfully so. So give me Shore, 8,700. I like it as a core play. Jordan Griffin, 7,600. I just really like the price tag here, and I really like the upside. Not necessarily saying, he's like a lock to win or nothing like that, but if he does win, he probably scores very well because that means he's going out there, he's getting takedowns, he's grappling, and like I just said, it scores very well, especially with this new DraftKings scoring system. Saldana, in his 6 losses, he has been submitted twice. And Griffin is a very good BJJ brown belt. Decent wrestling. We saw him go out there against Yusuf Zalal, get a couple takedowns. I do think that Zalal's a better grappler than Saldana. And there's just a lot of question marks with this fight. Saldana coming off the Contender Series. Not much tape on the guy. But if Griffin comes in here with the right game plan of going out there, getting takedowns, working that ground game, I think a submission's live, or maybe grinding out a decision. But with that said, if Griffin comes out there and strikes with Saldana for long periods of time, honestly, he probably gets knocked out. But this is kind of an upside play, live dog, 7,600. I like it a lot. I have a decent amount of this fight as a whole and a decent amount of Jordan Griffin there. Next, we have Joe Solecki, 9,100. Again, another guy with some wrestling upside, some grappling upside, and I like him quite a bit in this fight against Jim Miller, who is 37 years old. The thing about Jim Miller is very low volume, lands 2.73 significant strikes per minute. I think for him to win this fight, he probably needs a first-round knockout, but outside of that first round, he definitely does slow down. And what I like about Joe Solecki in this fight is, decent takedowns, very, very good at grappling, black belt in BJJ. And Jim Miller has a 46% takedown defense. So I kind of think maybe Solecki doesn't have the most success getting Jim Miller down in that first round, but if he can survive that first round, it's going to be a pretty easy night for Joe Solecki. Probably racks up takedowns. I wouldn't be shocked if he got a submission as well. So yeah, give me Joe Solecki at 9,100. I think there's a ton of upside in that play, and I think he's kind of safe as well. All right, getting into our GPP plays here, our tournament plays, we have Luis Saldana, talked about a little bit. Like I said, if Jordan Griffin comes out here, tries to test his striking against Saldana, honestly, Griffin probably gets knocked out. Griffin, not the best defensively, gets hit with a 48% striking defense. We saw in the Zalal fight, he was literally eating punches with his face, like hands down to his sides. It was very hard to watch. If he does that against Saldana, he's going to get knocked out pretty bad here. But he does have a chin. He has the toughness to back it up. It's just... man, you don't really want to do that against Saldana here. You want to take this guy down, grapple him, and probably get a submission. But it's all up to the game plan of Griffin. And for that reason, I do like Saldana as a tournament play here. Don't love the price, but I do think if he wins, it's honestly probably a knockout. But hopefully Griffin does come in there with the game plan of grappling, as I do think that's his best path to victory there. Julian Marquez, 9,000. I don't know. Sam Alvey's a very tough guy, like I mentioned earlier in the video. He has like 48 fights, 49 fights, something like that. And the dude has been submitted submitted once, and he's been knocked out 3 times. Marquez, he has a 100% finish rate, so it's really hard to ignore that stat right there. Marquez has never lost by decision, so him being a minus 200 favorite, you got to take a look at Marquez, 9,000. He's going to be backing Sam Alvey up to the cage. Sam Alvey backs up in every single fight. Sam Alvey, very low volume. I would be a lot heavier on Marquez if he just threw a little bit more, only lands 3.5 significant strikes per minute. But I do expect Marquez to probably go out here, possibly get a knockout. Like I said, 100% finish rate. This guy's never won by decision. We have seen Alvey finish before, and Alvey is coming down a weight class from 205. So curious to see him on the scales as well. But I'm going to take Marquez, 9,000, play a little bit of him. Just wouldn't play him in cash for sure. You're going to cash your 9,400. Another play I would not really go to in cash. It's just, we got the heavyweights. We have Daniel coming off of a 4-year layoff, almost a 5-year layoff. Yorgan De Castro honestly really should knock this guy out in the first round. Very good leg kicks, a ton of power, and the layoff of Daniel, and like I said, prior to the layoff, Daniel wasn't impressive at all. So De Castro very well should get that first round knockout, 9,400. Little expensive, but like I said, I don't really care about the pricing this week because, a lot of underdogs are live, a lot of pump plays are live, so I will be playing some De Castro, not a cash game play. But if you're looking for somebody with first-round knockout upside, I think De Castro's not a bad look there at 9,400. Da Un Jung, 8,400. Speaking of knockout upside, if he wins, it's probably by KO. 92% finish rate for Jung. This fight goes one of 2 ways. Either William Knight's able to get down Da Un Jung, grind him out, probably win a decision, or Da Un Jung knocks out William Knight. William Knight, 33% striking defense. I'm more so leaning towards the Jung side personally, but I'll have both sides of this fight for sure, as I do think it scores well, and I do think it's in that price range where it probably does find the optimal lineup no matter who wins it, but I will be playing my fair share of Jung at 8,400. Mateus Gamrot, 9,200. Yeah, this is an interesting one, kind of on the expensive side for a guy that's not a finisher. He has like a 50% finish rate, and Scott Holtzman is very tough to finish. But Gamrot, he went out there and I think got like 5 or 6 takedowns in his last fight against Guram Kudladze. And if he comes out here, gets those takedowns, maybe he doesn't hold down Holtzman. Holtzman's very tough to hold down, but maybe he does get, a few takedowns, and those do rack up, maybe some control time as well. With this new scoring system, I can see Gamrot scoring decently, but then again, I think his, ceiling's kind of capped because he doesn't really have that finish upside, and to top it off, Holtzman's very tough to finish himself. So I like Gamrot. I'm not going to go crazy on it, but I do think he has a path to victory where he can score decent with those takedowns, with the control time, if he does choose to go to it, and I do recommend he does go to it as well. All right, live dogs, Mike Perry, 7,400. And yeah, going to be one of the more popular dogs. Honestly, probably the first or second most popular dog on the entire slate, because this fight probably should be lined towards a pick'em. Mike Perry just hasn't been looking great as of late, to say the least, but it looks like he's taken this training camp very serious. Looks like he's in phenomenal shape. But I don't know. I think this fight should be lined towards a pick'em. I think we're getting a lot of line value on Mike Perry. We've seen Dan Rodriguez rocked. We've seen him hurt. We've never seen him knocked out. But if he does choose to brawl with Mike Perry, I think Perry is live for a knockout. Can Perry win a decision? I'm leaning towards no. D-Rod throws a ton of volume, but with that said, D-Rod's there to be hit. He absorbed 6.12 significant strikes per minute. With that also said, Mike Perry's there to be hit. 54% striking defense. He is definitely there to be hit, especially in his last couple fights. His striking defense just is not there. As far as the pick goes, I guess I'll slightly lean D-Rod, but I really don't think he should be 8,800 on DraftKings. If I was to price this, it would be like 8,200 D-Rod, 8,000 Mike Perry. So I think we're getting a lot of value on Mike Perry, and I think if he does win, it is probably by knockout. He's going to be very popular and probably for a very good reason. William Knight, 7,800. Yeah, if he wins, it's going to be based off of takedowns. Not the best wrestler in the world, but the dude is just so strong. So maybe he does get down Jung, holds him down, gets control time, gets takedowns. And if he does win, it's going to score well. I actually like the price, 7,800. Kind of a tough fight to call in general. So I do like Knight here as a dog play on DraftKings, because if he does win, it will score pretty well with the wrestling, grappling, control time, and maybe he gets a finish as well. Mackenzie Dern, 7,900. If she wins, it's going to be some type of submission. It's going to be, I don't know what it is, but a lot of times when Mackenzie Dern fights these fighters like Cyphers and Marcos, Dern doesn't even need a takedown, but these fighters are making mistakes. So if Ansarov decides to go into Mackenzie Dern's guard, Dern gets that submission win. So that's a path to victory there. Does she outstrike Nina? Leaning towards no, but she does throw some power. So I think if Dern does get this to the mat, which I'm leaning towards no, she does get that sub, but it's hard to see her getting this down to the mat. But she is somebody I'm looking at. If she's going to be like crazy high owned, I'll probably honestly fade her. But she's somebody that if she does win, she'll score well. It's just 5% takedown accuracy. Nina Ansarov, very good takedown defense. But I will have, I guess, a little bit of Dern there. And then Sam Alvey, 7,200. Yeah, another fight that I think should be lined a little bit closer, just due to the fact that Marquez isn't the best fighter in the world, very low volume himself, and Sam Alvey does hit very hard. The problem is low volume Sam Alvey, really good chin Marquez, but I don't know, 7,200, I'm really looking at Sam Alvey here as kind of a low, maybe not low, crazy low owned, but like a low owned play with some knockout upside. Wouldn't be shocked at all if he was able to knock out Marquez, and he's 7,200. I will have a couple shares of Sam Alvey, but if it does get out of like the first round, it's really hard to see him, destroying the slate with how low volume he is. So don't mind a little bit of Sam Alvey though. Pump plays, Kevin Holland, 6,600. Touched on it a bit, but 3,000 difference between Vettori and Kevin Holland. And Kevin Holland is somebody that you can really never count out of a fight no matter what. He has some decent power. The problem with that is Vettori has a very, very good chin. So can he finish Vettori? Really leaning towards no, but at 6,600, I will have some shares of Holland there. Not going to go crazy on it, but that's way too cheap, honestly. And then Jarvis Danyo, 6,100. Very low level heavyweight fight. Lots of question marks. We haven't seen this guy in 4 years. Has he been making improvements? I don't know. Maybe he does get to Castro down. Maybe he does hold him against the cage. Maybe he does squeak out a decision. Maybe a finish. I'm leaning towards none of that probably happens, but it's a heavyweight fight. Usually in heavyweight fights, you do want to play both sides, and for that reason, I will sprinkle a little bit of Danyo at 6,800. There's a lot of decent pump plays here. Like I'm also looking at Palatnikov as a pump play. Sam Alvey, you can put him in that punt range as well, but Jim Miller is somebody you can always look to for maybe a first round upside as well, but my main pump plays are going to be Kevin Holland and Jarvis Danyo. And then fades, Impa Kasaganay. I don't know, it is the first fight of the night, and the first fight of the night always seems to surprise a lot of people. We saw it 2 weeks ago, where a lot of people thought that the first fight of the night would not end up on the optimal lineup, and it absolutely did, with Marc-Andre Barriault being extremely low owned. I'm iffy about this one. It's just hard to play Impa 9,500, although I think the knockout is kind of live here. It's just kind of hard to predict that since he's never had a knockout win in 9 or 10 fights. Plotnikov, although has been knocked out 2 times in 2 of his losses, so I wouldn't be shocked if Impa does get that knockout. I just don't think it's crazy likely. And at 9,500, I'd rather get Vettori. I'd rather go up there and honestly probably get Marquez. I'd probably get, when you want to get Gamrot. I'd want to get, probably not Dumont, but I want to get like De Castro over Impa. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to completely fade it yet, but he's going to be somebody I have very, very low owned of. Him and probably Dumont. Not going to have much of Dumont as well. But those two are somebody that I'm probably going to look to either be very low on or fade completely. And then just a reminder, it's always a great time to become a member of the Patreon. Talked about it earlier in the video. Added a ton of value. The price stays the same. I am a man of the people. $10 a month. $10 a month, $2.50 a week, which is insane. You get full access to my model. We saw it earlier. The premium projections, the new optimizer that is sweet. GPP lineup percentages, Draftkings article that comes out on Friday, and then access to Discord, which is probably the best thing in the package as well. So $10 a month. Check it out. Link in the description. Really do appreciate all the support. And with that said, I'm going to head out of here, and good luck. See you guys on Friday for the live stream, and good luck for UFC Vegas 23.